be live.
Well, I mean, one
Hello,
of them has his
everyone.
name in it, so.
Oh,
Hello. It's us. It's the
Just-
Law Criminals. How's it going?
welcome everybody.
It hasn't
Welcome.
loaded yet for me.
We are just arguing about.
Oh, wait, there we go.
Arguing about the true name of is it football or is it soccer?
Football.
You know,
You
Chad,
guys don't get it.
I think we
Not
can
to be
answer that one
confused with
very
American
easily.
football.
Which country has a flag on the moon?
Which country derived its
China,
colours from
probably. At
another
this
country?
point, I wouldn't tell anyone. To be fair, isn't the flag on the moon? Oh no! Play it out loud. Oh, my phone. And the neighbour next to me is doing mechanical work on his car. Welcome everybody to this episode of the Iceberg Effect. We should I always forget to say at the beginning, we are on Spotify as well, so if you want to listen to us offline, please do.
And Amazon Music.
Yes. Oh, we're everywhere. We're in your walls,
Looking at the chat. Football!
Yeah.
Ah.
bro. Okay, I'm gonna get bro. It's called football, but you barely kick it. It's-
We
That
play
flag
football.
is bleach
we
white.
use our
yeah,
hands.
but you know,
Yeah, I was
what
saying.
colors were it?
It's called rugby, guys.
red,
It's called
white, and
rugby.
blue. To be fair, we all have red, white, and
You don't need to wear
blue.
armor. It's fine. By the way, before we start, we did get a $2 donation from Jeremy Golden saying, "What's up with GW halving AOS models?"
Beastmen. The Beastmen are just getting removed from Age of Sigmar.
Yeah, bit of a shame.
Feels bad.
I'm actually the neighbor's actually doing mechanical work on his car right next to me, so this is gonna have to be like the loudest intro ever if I'm gonna scream it. But thank you guys all for coming. Today we got a big topic because it's perhaps the best deity in the entire setting.
Yes.
Praise be. Get my inner Heimska going because this is Sigmar. Sigmar loves you.
The Sigmar,
Sigmar,
male grind set.
The Sigmar.
The Sigmar. He doesn't have any other names apart from Barbara.
Apart from the last ones he does. Pardon me.
It's just- Poor
Oh my
audio
gosh.
listeners for that though. But to be fair, before we get into good old delicious Sigmar lore, I don't know why I use that word. We have to do the question of the week. Now, last week we were asking you like, who would you worship? It was hashtag worship in the last episode for Chaos Corruption, and we've got some replies here that we need to just deal with. First one is but this guy's an actual like celebrity of the shit at DJ Beast.
He's
Thank you,
practically a
brother.
member of Law Crimes.
Hashtag worship. I would worship the horned rat because F all the other chaos gods. If I'm going down, at least I will worship the only chaos god with a sense of humor. Plus, I might get to see Thankor in action before I get turned into ammo depository. Ammo depository.
Respectable.
Respectable opinions here. We do have a donation
For the
there.
6 shekels, you better
Thank
say
you.
boink.
You better say boink up. Thank you, brother.
In our
I'm
hearts,
coming
he's
back
number
up.
one. We all know that.
Another one by another sort of reoccurring brother here by at Anarian Targaryen. They said hashtag worship Rani the Witch because she becomes a god and literally
I
leaves
can't
you
point.
as a consort. A blue 4-armed waifu. What more do you want? Not sure why you are desperate for the arms there, brother.
Wow.
There she
We're-
is.
We're not all 4 arms length. It's fine. It's like,
Four-armed
shout out to my
emperor-
short. Shout out to my
Formed
short
Emperor
kings.
mentioned.
Oh, man,
Gene
I could say
Stealer win.
some-
Gene
I-
What's the
Stealer
point
win.
of a four
Forearms?
emperor? It's just that.
4
bit.
armpits.
4. Oh god.
Okay.
So
Well, not
sorry,
bad,
audio
yes.
listeners.
I'm not.
Another one by at Sweetness, which is hashtag worship Zinch. I'm too vain to look like a Nurgle worshipper, too disciplined to worship Slanesh, and too chill to worship Khorne. I am, however, extremely ambitious and love some good old trolling. I picked this one just because I felt like this might be a bit boomer energy, the way it was written, so I appreciate the older people watching. If not,
This
brother,
guy's
you gotta
like
seriously work
18.
on that. Yeah, you gotta work on that.
Boomer.
I love
Is
trolling.
this- Got the kind of energy where you
Pulling
say
out my
like jinkies when you
pancreas
get
for that
surprised.
Fortnite battle pass. I'm just reading chat.
Yes.
That's nice.
Check out the we did an epic rap battles tier list stream if you wanted to check that
It's
out.
definitely
Yeah.
real.
It's-
It's,
it's-
certainly
yeah.
real.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely epic rap.
See whose
Yeah.
favorites were
It was
picked.
totally planned and everything.
Look at the last one here though. Last one here was at by what was that one? What's his name? Oh my god, Donkeysaurus Rex.
Hell yeah.
It's my favorite dinosaur.
Lonchiosaurus Rex. He says hashtag worship Nurgle, so the poop knife is canonical and in my codex.
Oh my gosh.
God.
Deep cut.
Thank you, brothers. We do have a nation by Donkey Man USA. He says,
Yeah,
after
it's a
listening
nation
to
as well.
Elfslayer, Irish Dark Elves, I have fallen to Colin's Marathi propaganda, and I too desire a goth Irish Dark Elf Dommy mummy.
Dude, it
Oh
gets to you.
my.
It's real.
I can't believe I had to say that out loud.
I'm about to
Didn't realize
start
they were
worshipping
Irish.
Malekith as the true Phoenix King if this keeps going.
Ooh, yeah. Ooh.
As written, truly.
It's canon.
But thank you so much, guys, for the question of the
It's
week
not
there. We do have the next question of the week, which
Please fuck off.
DJ Beats, leave him alone. God, DJ Beats is always on our case. People need to catch us.
Our
live so they
case?
can-
Yeah.
Sorry, Colin's case.
Holy cow.
The next question of the week is to do with hashtag Godhood. So we want to know what would be your great quest or journey to ascension of Godhood. What would your great deed be? Again, you can make it terrible, make it disgusting within reason, or just make it funny. Go for it. You know, what great deed will you do to achieve your hashtag Godhood? Thank you for the submissions, brothers, though, for the previous question of the week. Today, though, it's a bit more serious because it's to deal with the one and true. The Emperor before it was an Emperor in 40k. This is Sigmar Heldenhammer or Sigmar Umberogan. I don't want to. I think I said Umberogan.
Yeah, Umberogan.
Yeah. I don't want to mess that up.
Yeah.
But praise be to Boingob, who's not quite in the fantasy setting for now. But Colin will be taking us through the lore and the iceberg of Sigmar. Take it away.
I would be happy to do so. So, Sigmar, yeah, he's a cool guy. He has the Warhammer that the settings are named after, as well as a setting all to himself named after him. But our story starts a bit before that. So pardon me. Sigmar, he was just born. He was not born a god. There was no, depending on whatever interpretation of the emperor is. None of that for Sigmar. He wasn't either a bunch of shamans ritually killing themselves. He wasn't some weapon from Dark Age technology. He was just a dude, born to greatness, as the twin-tailed comet soared high over the day of his birth, signifying that something special's coming.
I just realized in the universe, is this like some the star above Bethlehem sort of stuff, but it's the twin tail
Probably.
comet. I never put that together until now. Wow, they really did copy homework again, GW.
Spoiler alert, but they have the sign of the hammer, it's called, which is just, instead of you go up for the cross, it's side, middle, side, down, instead of,
Wow.
It's not very creative.
To be fair, it's like they do have in 40k the equivalent, isn't it? You do the arms over,
Yeah.
and you have the little two eagle head bird things, but
This looks like I'm just doing shadow puppets.
to be fair, I just realised it is a little bit. There's a bit of an influence there from a certain real world thing, but this one's a little bit more wholesome.
You can tell with all the cathedrals and everything.
Yes.
But yeah, he was born the twin-tailed comet soaring high, signifying that. Pardon me, a truly legendary hero has been born. But he was born in less than ideal conditions. Less than ideal conditions, of course, meaning an orc took his weapon to his mother mid-birth, which is not generally great, and she did die from blood loss. But his father and his bodyguard did manage to reach her before they could kill Sigmar as well, and kind of cut short all of Warhammer. And I don't know why this sticks out to me, but this wasn't like a plot or anything. Like, you'd think, oh, great, Sigmar, future god being born. That was probably Tzeentch, right? That was just unlucky. This just happened to the poor guy. So, quite the rough day start from birth. He was born to the Unberogan tribe, so Sigmar Unberogan. And at this time, they were just like barbarian tribes. Like the Bronze Age was, all the rage about this time. They lived in, like tents and stuff, and The chieftain might be so lucky. Sigmar's dad was the chieftain, so Sigmar is lucky enough to have a bear skin rug instead of like elk skin or something like that. Not glorious or incredibly opulent conditions. This is what Sigmar's born in. He's a young lad in a barbarian tribe, so he goes out, hunts for his food, all that kind of stuff. Very primitive. Early on, he gets, it's called Dooming Day, which is a very fun name for it, although it's a little bit less impressive than you might think. You just get locked in a tomb of your ancestors and see if they had anything good to tell you. And they didn't really have anything to tell Sigmar, so when he climbs out of his cave, he looks out over the land that is his father's people and sees that it's really just a bunch of scared hamlets, like they hiding from any threats. The beastmen that are in every forest ever in Warhammer Fantasy. They're hiding away, cowering from the dark.
Except the ones GW's removed from the marketplace.
Except this is before you think about GW routinely destroying the beastmen as a faction.
We do have a donation by Adohin. He says, "Can you do the sign of the comet for us?" I don't know if that's just
it's the sign of the hammer.
Left,
middle, right, down.
That was.
I was going to say, like a comet, we just throw ourselves
bad.
head first across the room.
Let me go plant my head into drywall back there real quick.
Praise Sigmar.
Holy justice. So he does that. Then he's not happy over the state of mankind. Dooming Day is any day I go on Twitter. Too true. But so Sigmar's gonna work towards changing things. He doesn't like this. Before that, though, he grabs some friends who this is the start of his journey. It's some pretty first level D&D stuff. Goes to kill a boar that has a reputation for killing everyone that tries to kill it. So they get there, and all the friends he takes with just book it. But Sigmar tames it by yanking a spear out of its back that had been causing it some discomfort. Which, I kind of like this, because it shows Sigmar is Conan the Barbarian with the serial numbers filed off. But, he doesn't just unga bunga. Things that bother him don't necessarily need to die. Which is nice. And, going forward a bit, it's time for some more fun stuff. So at this point, I should mention in mind that his birth year, I believe, was -15 in the Imperial calendar.
Is Teclis and Tyrion around at this point?
No, they're not born, I think, for a few thousand years.
Oh, so Sigmar's old to even them.
Yeah, Sigmar himself is. What was I say? At this point, the elves and dwarves have already had their great war, ruining everything. The Tomb Kings are the Tomb Kings. Dark elves are around. Cathay is sure existing in the lore. That's about it.
There shall be some depth on the other side of the world which we're not going to touch with a stick at this point.
There's plenty of interesting stories to tell that we will not be telling. But as it goes in, not Europe, the Empire isn't around yet because Sigmar hasn't done that yet. So the human nations of the old world don't exist yet. Except for maybe some city-states in Tylea. But that's neither here nor there. They're not particularly important to Sigmar's story. But he's 15 now, though, pardon me. And it's time for him to get quite the jump in status when he saves the life of the High King of the Dwarfs. So, how that starts is some orcs, because orcs and beastmen are everywhere, were raiding Sigmar's lands. And he wasn't a fan of this. He's Eli Ilpricht. He's like Commander Farsight in the sense that any amount of orcs more than 0 is too many orcs for Sigmar. Real and true. So he starts chasing them out. But these orcs had something special in their possession, which is Kurgan Ironbeard, the High King of the Dwarfs. And that might be the single dwarfiest name I've heard in my life. But pardon me. So Sigmar starts fighting the dwarves, and he brings his army with him. And the dwarf High King sees him doing this and is like, this guy is pretty cool. In fact, this guy's just a human. We don't have too much contact with them, and they're not terribly impressive. The dwarves have mountain holds that go miles deep, and Sigmar
We've just discovered cesspits.
The humanity has just discovered digging a pit to shit in. So, not exactly the most impressive stuff.
The Age of Empire 2 has just started. Like, you've not quite gotten past the first age
Oh, no,
yet.
no.
So you're not quite getting to paladins and knights, or to be fair, Teutonic is the best faction.
You've just discovered farming.
Oh, we have a donation here by Angry Homunculus. It says, "Sorry, I'm late." In quotes, "Only the faithful."
True and real.
Thank you for showing up,
real.
brother. Appreciate you.
The
Like-
fact that Setzer didn't conquer it's not a plot hole. It is the plot. He couldn't get there in time before old age got him. That is the plot of Setra's character.
Isn't it because as well, like the Blackfire Pass thing, like the Cetra never went beyond that or up it?
I don't know if it explicitly stated, but it's probably a decent thing to assume because Blackfire Pass is a very, pardon me,
Orc infested hell.
Yeah,
By the way, I did draw a picture of Sigmar. Would you like to see it?
I
We
would
would-
very much.
We'll describe this for the. And do you want to describe it for the audio people?
Kind of looks
there?
like you.
It looks like there is a man in very nice, chunky, golden emperor-like armor who maybe has a Babylonian beard as well.
Yeah.
Thank you very much,
Very
Andy.
nice,
That's for the audio listeners there.
My resident artist.
Truly.
Truly.
But Sigmar. Thank you, Insulin Pump, for really rudely interrupting me. Kurgan, the dwarf guy, he sees Sigmar going to town. He's like, that's pretty cool, and so he breaks the chains the orcs imprisoned him in, which he probably could have done at any time, but then he would have been alone, surrounded by orcs. So probably thought it was best to just kind of sit there. He broke his chains. Fights his way to the war boss tent and grabs Sigmar a special little present. Galmaraz, the Skull Splitter, the Warhammer. It should be known, the dwarf was swearing the entire time, up and down, left and right, because dwarves are not elegant.
Oh,
But
that's why we love him.
he was surrounded by orcs. I think it's valid to be in a bit of a sweary mood. I probably would be too.
Valid question here, though. Do
Yes.
the dwarves in the Warhammer Fantasyverse, are they like, do they have Swedish accents or Scottish accents?
I think they're more of like a northern English accent.
What, like
Yeah.
like Newcastle? Or
I don't-
something?
I mean, kinda. I don't know exactly what accent they
Are
have.
they like-
I don't think.
Are you
I
telling me
know-
they're like Peaky Blinders, like they're from Birmingham or
It sounds
something?
like they sound like Gimli when you read the audio. He listens to the audiobooks.
It depends on what it is, because the dwarf Malachi MacKyson is specifically written to be Scottish, except they write his dialogue like in Gotrek and Felix with a Scottish accent. They write how it sounds, and
Yeah, bastard.
some of those lines of text I read them, and it's
Your
like
wee bairn.
I don't
just
know
a
what
wee
I just
bairn.
read.
Or is it like something like
So I don't think as a
is it
whole
called?
they're Scottish.
fair enough.
Some of them are, but not all of them. But yeah, Sigmar gets that hammer tossed to him and splits an orc skull. It translates to skull splitter. He puts it to pieces, or he puts it to work. After the fight is over, everything's all done and good with. Sigmar tries to give the hammer back, but Kurgan's a cool guy, and he recognizes Sigmar is probably destined for greatness, especially because the hammer is magic, even ancient, even to the dwarves, and they believe that it has it's like Mjolnir. It chooses its wielder. So the fact Sigmar can use it at all, they're kind of like, well, you can probably keep that. You're probably going to use it more than we could. And he cements mankind and the dwarves forever having a steadfast alliance. At least Sigmar's, Sigmar's group of people. So, and again, just a reminder, he's 15 years old. So after this, he goes on to keep killing more orcs. One of his friends dies, which, not terribly, not great, but this is his first time commanding like a truly massive army. So all things considered, he did pretty well. They return back to what would eventually become the city of Altdorf, and they celebrate. Sigmar's friend had a twin brother who was not happy with Sigmar because he got his brother killed. we'll come back to that later, but that's foreshadowing. What's that? Meanwhile, the Dwarf Alliance it's leading to some stuff. Iron specifically, humanity has finally entered the Iron Ages.
Oh, they were bronze before that. Wow.
Yeah, pretty much. They were not
Jeez.
exactly advanced.
Wow, Cesspit might have been an overreach there. Wait,
Back in my
least
day,
other
we
than
didn't have any wheels, any of these fancy spherical things. We had blocks, and we used them to move stuff.
the Tomb Kings were advanced, Cathay was advanced, and all of the playable human factions were not advanced. They were hiding in caves and the ruins of elven colonies until now. So yeah, Iron. Hey, Iron, good. I like Iron. But yeah, during this time, the Chaos Gods finally woke up and saw Sigmar was probably going to cause them some issues going forward. So they sent an armada of the Norsey tribe, which are not quite Norskins yet. They're the Norsey tribe, to go kill Sigmar. His father went to face them and killed the Chaos Lord leading that invasion, but it was at the cost of his father's own life. Sigmar did not know of this at the moment because his dead friend's brother assaulted him, murdered his sister, that's his friend's brother's sister, not Sigmar's sister, killed Sigmar's lover, who actually I think that was his sister, and then tossed Sigmar in a river as the Chaos Gods turned him into a demon prince. If you played Total Warhammer, that's Azazel's backstory. So
I remember that now.
The guy who actually looks pretty decent as a Chaos Lord, and the little snake tails and stuff. He looks pretty spicy.
He does, in fact, look like he's not allowed within 500 feet of an elementary school.
Yeah, that's fair.
He's not that level of creepy. It's more like.
Are we sure about that?
He gives me the sense like he would run you down on all fours. Like that's the level of scare, that level of scariness.
I'm looking at this guy's smile, and
yeah,
it's not great.
He absolutely would run on all fours to get
Dad
you.
Sigmar, sheesh.
Good lord,
Jeez.
He's also a Slaanesh,
Yeah.
demon prince, so he's definitely not great.
Do you reckon he steps on Lego for fun?
I don't want to know
don't
what
want
this
to know
man
where
does
he
for
puts the
fun.
Lego. It's worse than being on your foot.
Jeez.
Yeah,
Sorry
but,
for all the listeners there.
Anyway, Sigmar's on death's doorstep. Not great. He just got tossed in a river. But he wakes up and he's in a grayscale land with weird shadow monsters everywhere. It's barren, it's boring. It looks like if you take a picture of any part of the Midwest ever, where it's just nothing but grass and corn, and grayscale the picture.
Shout out them to the Midwest where nothing happens.
Yeah, this is truly. It's not America's asshole. That's Florida and/or.
This truly is land.
This is in fact
Just
part
where
of the
there's
world.
growths of hair, just like, it's like the armpit.
There is in fact ground here.
But on the bright side, his dad's there, and he gives him a big old bear hug, and they start killing those shadow monsters together. And after a little bit of doing this, Sigmar comes to realize that he's on death's doorstep and is kind of hovering around the edges of Mor's Garden, which is where the dead go in Warhammer. At least the human dead. The dwarven dead just kind of sink into the earth. And elven dead, there's 50 different things that can happen to them, most of them incredibly unpleasant. There's 2 gods out for elven souls in fantasy, not just one.
Shout out to DJB saying, send this man to Iowa.
Truly a barren wasteland. But they have what's that scene from Lord of the Rings? The second movie it is, where the ghosts all show up.
Oh, the third movie.
Third
That's
movie.
the third
Shit,
one,
pardon
Oh,
me.
I thought you
Like
said
Dun Hero.
I've still not seen the second 2 Lord of the Rings movies.
Oh
Or
my
it could be
gosh.
the swamplands with all the elven dead in the ground.
Mhm.
In
Yeah,
the
the
swamp
second movie.
area.
Yeah.
There's 2 towers there. When
But,
Gollum's escorting them.
Yeah, but it's a nice heroic moment. Him and his dad, alongside a whole bunch of Unborogan ghost warriors, fight against the shadow demons and the ghost of the warlord his dad killed, for his dad gives him a fancy amulet and fully passes on to the afterlife. And with that, Sigmar comes back to reality and is understandably a little bit upset that his dad's dead because the North Sea tribes, came, tried to kill him. So he takes he gets his own army and nearly slaughters the North Sea tribes to the last. And now those descendants of them who fled become the Norskins. So that's where you get Norska from, and they will forever make you very angry in Total Warhammer as they constantly destroy Nordland and ruin your imperial authority. I don't love Norska.
But Bretonnia needs that to then do their land invasion of Norska. Sea invasion of Norska.
Yeah, they start Operation Sea Lion invading Albion and kicking Be'lakor in the balls and then moving up.
Gotta love it.
But yeah, for a little bit, outside threats have been dealt with. All the orcs are for the moment not bothering him that much. He just beat the hell out of the Chaos worshippers he would have had to deal with. Now Sigmar can get to work with his main dream of uniting. Why does it say Common Colonel? I don't know what I've done nothing. And yet you say Common Colonel. I'm giving Sigmar lore. Oh,
they're making fun of you not watching Lord of the
I
Rings.
read the books. Fuck off. Sigmar time. Leave my movie lack of viewership alone.
Someone said we should send him an animated one. Just then he watched.
Joseph Pollard, thank you for the $10. Praise be to Sigmar, the first Sigma male turned Sigma god.
Truly.
Incoming backup. Thank you for the 15 shekels.
Thank you, brother.
I wonder if the poll has gotten in the way. Living in the Midwest, I don't need to read the rest of that. I wonder if Gork and Mork sent the orcs to kill Siggy's mom because they knew who'd become their buddy and wanted to start their bar brawl early. I mean, orcs doing anything, that's as good of a motivation as any.
Yeah.
Or they're just orcs, they're just there.
Probably more likely a happy accident if it's an orc thing. Just
Yeah.
like, oh, that was good. Whoops.
Yeah. But, outside threats dealt with. Now Sigmar's going to get into his dream of uniting, the tribes of mankind into one nation. I'm only going to talk about two of those tribes because, you kind of get the general gist of it. Sigmar goes to a champion, goes to a tribe, needs to convince their leaders to fall under his banner, rinse and repeat across what becomes the Empire of Man. So there's two I'll talk about. One of them is going to be a lot of bitching. The first one is the Teutonians, Teutonic Knights, however you say that.
Teutigans,
thank you. This would become the province of Middenland, Middenheim, Boris, Todbring, all that good stuff. Their king, Artur, when Sigmar gets there, decides he's going to just kind of sit on what's known as the Fauschlag, which is a big, old, pretty much impregnable fortress atop of Middenheim. So Sigmar waits a day before he decides he's sick of laying siege like anything resembling a tactician, and just takes some men and climbs up there himself to directly challenge the King Artur. No relation to King Arthur, actually. That's not this faction. As well as just, demand he account for his actions, because, he's supposed to be, head of the war god Ulrich, and yet this dude's hiding on top of a mountain. Not terribly brave. This was also next to the Flame of Ulrich, speaking of, which is pretty much Ulrich's, main, what's the thing? Not anchor, but, presence in the physical world. So he can't really back down without looking like a bitch next to his war god patron. So they start fighting. And Sigmar actually gets pushed back into the Flame of Ulrich by Artur. But unlike, Kentucky Fried Phoenix King Malekith, who deserved his death.
Kentucky Fried Malekith. My God.
Kentucky Fried Phoenix King.
It's finger licking good?
I'd eat Malekith.
That's more what Marathi would say, to be fair.
Yeah.
I'd eat Marathi.
Okay.
God.
Don't start it and then get upset when I finish.
Is that still canon lore where, Marathi and Malekith, supposedly?
I assume so.
I would.
Yuck. God.
Man.
He must have been wearing that black armor as well at the time. So
Yeah, he can't take it off. It's
awkward
Darth
as
Vader
hell.
armor.
Yeah. Jesus.
But yeah, when Sigmar gets pushed into the Flames of Ulrich, Ulrich's like, yeah, this guy's pretty awesome. So Sigmar howls like a wolf, comes screaming out of the flame, and Galmarazes Arter. And with that, the Tutagens are now firmly on Sigmar's side because Ulrich's a war god. They all follow Ulrich. Sigmar just proved he's better at killing things. So it's a very simple matter. And that kind of thing repeats across the Empire. Some are a bit more clever than that. Some are also, Unga Bunga Sigmar Smash. The only tribe he was not able to convince to join up with him was the Bretonni tribe, because they felt they were simply too good to join Sigmar's empire, because of course they fucking did.
Here we go.
They were too busy LARPing as high elf cavalry and shitting
They
in
couldn't
ruins.
help being utterly French.
Their
and molesting
cultures were
horses.
very different, so they decided to just be friends.
Okay,
Mhm.
buddy.
That's
This
The
just reminds
breakup
you of
did
like
not go well.
how
Their
everything
culture-
is-
Kids, man, she took the kids.
not everything's bliss. I don't know if you know more about it, Colin. Like, isn't it even like the Battle of like Agincourt in history? Supposedly everyone depicts it like it was a great battle. Men fighting in lines and the archers, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But suppose like archer lines throughout history, they would often. The men would just have to fight with their trousers down because so many people had dysentery and diarrhea. So honestly, like
Multitasking.
real life battles are not like glamorous at all. So I love
No.
an accurate movie depiction. It's like the archers going, fire another load. The guy's like, hang on a minute.
I've run out of ammunition. Oh wait.
So the
Where'd
good
you
old
go?
Bretonians were finishing something, and then the same ones they were
Would
firing
you-
their longbows.
Would you like the poison arrows?
It's super effective.
We haven't got any more ammo for the catapult. Lads,
Is
sit
that,
on the
is
edge
that
for a
supposedly
minute.
a true thing, isn't it? Like most armies are it's a ticking time bomb until diarrhea gets everyone.
I
Yeah,
mean,
to be honest,
well,
there's
it's
like
like
a lot
if
of
you-
history. It was like it's there all the time, no matter what.
well, I've
But
talked
being a
to
knight, imagine that inside, and you're like, oh no, I can't get my breeches off because there's too much plating.
All of them just
Oh,
fight.
well.
Apparently, archers would just fight just no bottoms, just shirts. I mean,
well,
like
I,
a
I,
toddler.
I know a couple people in the army, and they pretty much all of them have told me, like, yeah, if you drink non-bottled water in wherever you're at, you're going to shit your pants. It doesn't matter what country you're in. It's because your body, like, is your immune system is factored around the water where you live.
hmm
So even if it's
Yeah.
not tainted, it's not the special water you live
Or-
with. So it's just
Although, can you
diarrhea
attest?
town.
Isn't there a thing in America where like most Americans drink bottled water rather than out of the tap, even though the tap water
I
is?
think there's reasons
clean?
for that. Though.
It depends on where you live, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
But
if you live in Flint.
I must say Flint. I don't even know. I've heard of Flint, Michigan.
they probably
Here.
put
Water
a
not
lot-
good.
They probably put a lot more in American water than they do in Europe. I can only imagine.
It's like Water Plus or something.
They put sugar in it.
The spice from Doom.
That's why Colin has diabetes, you know.
God, make it crazy.
Oh, there was
Drinking water.
there was another tribe that did not unite with Sigmar, the Utones, who were the ancestors of Marienburg. But eventually, another emperor later down the line unites them, and so whatever. That one's not particularly important. It's
Dog's moving.
fucking Marienburg.
Dog
Dog
yes.
rose.
Your dog is sensed.
Dog rising.
Marienburg's been mentioned.
my
The
my
dog
dog's
is
a
upset.
Marienburger. I didn't know that. Pissed her off.
He wants to make discount steam tanks. And
Yes.
Aw.
Good girl.
Oh.
We're sponsored by dogs, by the way. 100%.
Yes.
Like the video, by the way, if you made it this far, because dogs like us.
Like the video, or no, I'm not gonna say that.
I'll bring the puppy that I have on in a future stream if we keep going with likes.
We'll all have a
Please.
dog by the end of the year at this rate.
Yeah. But after this, aside from those two asshole tribes, fucking Bretonni, I hate you.
Okay.
They smell. It was time for Sigmar's, if not his greatest battle, then one of the most iconic, because it's time to go to Blackfire Pass. The orcs are gathering in greater numbers than ever before, and Blackfire Pass leads to Sigmar's realm. He's going to fight him sooner or later. Best to fight him at the mountain choke point before they just start ruining everything ever. Pardon me. Sigmar killed one army of them, and then Kurgan Ironbeard, the cool dwarf king he saved, shows up and goes, "Hey, Sigmar, I got bad news. That was the warm-up army of orcs. That was That was just some of them. So he calls all of the tribes he had united by this point, while the dwarfs were holding the bulk of these greenskins at bay, not necessarily, fighting them outright, but just delaying them from getting there while Sigmar gathers up reinforcements. And then it's time to throw down at year -1 in the Imperial calendar. There's the dwarfs had to withdraw to their holds because they were either facing too many casualties or the main orc army showed up, so better to get out of the way of that. And now all the dwarves and orcs that the two leaders could gather formed a united army known as Sigmar's Hammer, which is just the coolest thing ever.
Wait, dwarves and orcs?
No, dwarves and men, pardon me. Like all the men Sigmar
I was
got.
about to say
Very
that
on-brand.
heretical to say Sigmar
That's
was fighting dwarves.
That's saved for Total War, where the diplomacy system is whack. But yeah, they gather, and it's time to fight orcs. With the knowledge that if they fail here, the orcs are going to go through and probably kill everyone they had, united by this point. The battle was just like one of the biggest battles in Warhammer Fantasy. It was the men and the dwarves set up their lines, and the orcs just kept bawling down on them with just wave after wave of orcs and goblins and trolls and all the fun crap you can find in a greenskins army. At one point, Sigmar got knocked down by trolls and was saved by the king of another tribe named Marbad, who's not particularly important, but Sigmar liked him. And I bring that up because he sacrificed himself just to give Sigmar Galmaraz back. And Sigmar at this point has lost another friend in a massive battle against orcs, on top of now his mother as well.
What a name, though. Just I couldn't protect you. My bad. I mean, no, I've just whoops,
my bad.
Sorry, couldn't keep the trolls away, but I've got your weapon.
My bad.
It's like having a character who's just like very obviously named Vic and is probably short for victim in the story or something. He's ready to die. He's ready to die at the right point.
Yeah, it's like the Star Trek red shirt thing. It's just like, can I introduce you to Rouge Chete of the? He's just out of the academy. He's wearing an auspicious green red shirt. He's only got 1 credit on IMDb. Oh no.
For a 40k reference, it's like anyone being near Eisenhorn. Just immediately is not going to make it to the end.
You are a backstory character, my friend.
Or you're just going to be fodder, because his whole thing is like everyone around him is supposed to go or die. So he's just like, can't mix his hands aggressively, can't wait for this guy to get what's coming or something.
Yeah. But Sigmar now has Galmaraz in one hand, an elven sword someone else gave him in the other hand, and he's done leading the army. He just kind of goes forward and just starts killing. So orcs get in his way, orcs die, trolls get in his way, now a troll dies. And I think it's said that, like, in the lore, it's no one really knows if this was an attempt to like rally his forces, where it's like, yeah, look at Sigmar, he's taking them all on his own, let's get up there and be like him. Or if he really just did go insane and just started murdering things.
If it works, it works.
Pretty much, because the end result was basically everyone like saw him like,
yeah, he took a book out of the orcs method, just like, well, if you can't beat them, join them.
Yeah, it's like, go forward and hit things. So Sigmar starts doing that. He does this through a pretty good chunk of his army, to the point that the war boss in charge sees him doing this and is like, I can't let you do that anymore because I'm running out of army. So the orc on top of his wyvern flies down to put an end to Sigmar, and then he dies too. Pretty unceremoniously, all things considered. He gets Galmaraz blendered. But with that, Sigmar finally just collapses because he's taken on, pretty much because by this point the men of the doors were starting to rout, so it was pretty much a 1v army on Sigmar's part. But with that, all of the other warriors that were behind him remember that we should probably be fighting too. So the men of the dwarves charge into battle, and the Battle of Blackfire Pass is won. and Sigmar is he's done the greatest deed up to this point. He did his first battle of Blackfire Pass 1. Look forward to 5 minutes from now when the orcs are back, because that's just how this place works. It's
I
yes.
have a question, by the way, because there's often complaints in 40k about the writers don't do good with scale. Do we know how many numbers there were? Is it like millions fought or thousands fought? Because sometimes people have a go at Warhammer like, oh, that's actually not many people fighting. In some of the Horus Heresy battles in particular, like 10,000, that's not that much compared to like a galactic war. But I understand fantasy would be a bit more constrained.
I believe the orcs had hundreds of thousands. I'm just looking up really quick. I confess this is from the wiki. I didn't think to write down the numbers.
Ye old reliable.
So the numbers for the orcs were hundreds of thousands. The humans were and dwarves were tens of thousands or maybe low 100,000s. So it was a lot of people.
Wow.
But for a legendary fantasy battle, I don't think it's quite like some 40k battles where it's like you throw a number. That does still happen in fantasy, because I think at one point one of the authors just outright admitted there are as many elves as the plot demands, which is why like in some battles like the High Elves lose 10 guys and it's like, this is a tragic loss that our race cannot afford. We will not recover from this. And then 5 minutes later, Malekith kills 100,000 of them with the flick of his wrist. It's like, it's all right. Don't worry about it.
It's the war of the war of the beast effect. It was like, oh, the Imperial Fists are extinct. Reset button. It's fine. Don't worry about that. It's fine.
So yeah, this one I don't think is too egregious because it's the pivotal battle of a god king. But later on, there's some iffy numbering. There's some fudging of the numbers. Colin should change his Fortnite name to Vic. Thank you for that, Hal. You've given them something wonderful.
Victim.
God.
You really are a victim to the
victim of this
menace. Chat. The man's delivering Sigmar lore. Give him a break.
And then DJ Beast can call himself Seat, as in back seat. There we go.
Yeah. I'm going back to the Sigmar lore now.
Ignore the haters.
There's one, little ceremony by the Pulp of Ulrich just to make sure, Sigmar's for real, super worthy, but it's more of a formality by this point. He was already in Ulrich's flame once and was fine. It's really just to, put a nice bow on it. One last tribe is brought to heel with diplomacy. Proto-Marienburg gets invaded and conquered, and Sigmar's 50 years of rule begins. It's year 0 IC. The Empire of Man is founded. Sigmar even found a cool thing known as the Crown of Sorcery, which, definitely wasn't lost by ancient necromancers of unimaginable power. Definitely not going to be coming back to bite him in the ass very soon.
Who put that there? Like, just,
how did this get here?
My bad. It just fell out my pocket. This
I'm just imagining,
universe defining.
He just picks it up and you just hear it just kind of go. It's like, what was that? Nothing. Okay.
I just love it.
We still have Colin Fortnite slander in the chat.
Of course we do.
what a silly goose type thing I just did. And then
well, speaking of silly goose, the descendants of the Norsey come back and kill one of Sigmar's friends because being in a 20-foot radius of Sigmar is putting a target on your back. So Sigmar responds with just a little bit of genocide, just a small bit against the Norsey.
Just a pinch.
Just a smidgen. Until one of his childhood friends, who somehow made it to adulthood, don't know how that guy managed that, but pretty impressive, manages to calm him down, and Sigmar starts weeping manly tears. Very Conan Barbarian. I swear they're manly tears. He's not crying like a bitch. And ceases what he was doing. And then this scenario pretty much repeats itself a couple more times, where he starts murdering people more than strictly necessary before he's calmed down. And eventually he realizes that this crown is kind of messing with his brain, as well as making him gaunt and skeletal. Which again, really, who could that crown belong to? Evil, magical crown that's making him look like a skeleton. Could be anyone. Could be anyone. With that, the Norskins are sieging Middenheim. The person who talked Sigmar down from the ledge the first time is killed because I don't think I even need to say that anymore. Just assume if it's one of Sigmar's friends, they're dying the moment after I mention them. And they were driven back. Sigmar decides he's done waiting for them to come ransack the Empire and goes and destroys a bunch of Norscan villages down to the last. Well, not actually, no, not quite down to the last. He stops short of killing everyone, which leads to some chaos problems down the line. The first of a group of chaos warlords who are rather important, but that's for later. Nagash wants his crown back. It's Nagash. Spoiler alert, everyone, the skeleton crown is from Nagash.
How did it get up to the... Because this is obviously Northern Empire territory. How did it get from... Was it... It's because it's not interacted with Azag yet, has it?
No, that comes later.
But it's not quite to do with Krell.
Yeah. My assumption is that some vampire picked it up, got killed, lost it. Sigmar found it.
Oops again. And it's just so goofy when you drop the crown of destruction / ruin everyone's entire...
I mean, that happens
country.
a lot of time in Warhammer. People lose their shit all the time.
Must be in a dwarf hold. That's always the solution.
I mean, that's the Mechanicus' driving goal. Find the shit we lost.
True.
You know, sometimes...
Praise Omnissiah.
Yeah. Besides, Nagash got Al-Khadizard. You can't blame him for losing some stuff.
So many adjectives for like characters or weapons in this setting.
I just kind of do it. I don't know why.
Is Galmaraz like how I say like with in the Ferrus Manus lore, the one guy who he threw a hammer, like he hammered a guy so hard into the wall he dented the inside of an almost destructible vault he made. Like he rocketed it so hard the guy literally went like he was
Dunk.
missed. He got
a fine powder. Yeah,
Man.
that's about what happened. Oh, but
That's
yeah,
all the Ferrus Manus lore there, by the way. It's all of it in one go.
Thank you, GW, for keeping it concise. But yeah, Nagash is now making himself known again, as he does every couple thousand years in Warhammer. And across the entirety of Sigmar's empire, the undead rise as one and attack the living. Nagash led his army straight for Reichdorf, which is what Altdorf is known at by this point. I'm going to keep calling it Altdorf, though, just for the sake of simplicity. While the rest of his army just rampages across the empire and keeps it divided. Sigmar puts Nagash's crown back on his head, because even though it makes him a little bit angsty, it keeps him protected from Nagash's magic to some extent. Not perfect protection, because Nagash is still Nagash and the guy who invented necromancy and, incredibly powerful and all that. But it keeps him alive, basically.
Just reminds me of those adverts. It's like, this kills 99.9% of germs. This is like 99% of Nagash's power.
Sillet bang gun. Bang dirtiest gun.
Unfortunately, Andy, the last 1% was still enough to almost kill Sigmar.
Yeah.
Because it kind of starts wearing him down. It also helps Nagash doesn't really get tired. He's already dead. There's nothing in him to get tired. Yeah. He's a skeleton.
You're not gonna feel the burn of lactic acid if you don't have any muscles. Like, oh well.
Yeah, it's arguably cheating, but I say that it's simply Nagash is proof that he is the best ever. He's Nagash.
My man
truly
got decaf crown on.
But Sigmar is also a bit of a clever lad, so he throws Nagash's crown off his head onto the ground and starts taunting him. And Nagash is so greedy and obsessed with his crown that he stops fighting Sigmar and just dives for the crown. Like mid-fight, they're swinging at each other, and Sigmar just rips it off his head, and Nagash just goes mine and dives at it. And that leads to Nagash getting, Galmarazed, and ending the threat of Nagash once and for all, except not really. He's coming back like 50 more times. But, for now, he's gone. It'll last like 1,000 years this time, so that's something. They get rid of the crown because, things sucks. And it's time for the last major challenge of Sigmar's reign before he kind of just leaves for 2,500 years and does nothing. It is pardon me. A man named Morcar is in one of those villages Sigmar raised. He survived because he was just a child, and he held a bit of a grudge against good old Siggy. And if you ever look at the items that Archaon has, either the tabletop or Total War, you'll know that this is the first ever chosen of Chaos with the I guess it'd be second because Be'lakor, but the first mortal that Chaos ever put all their chips behind this guy. All four gods unite and say, you are the designated cool guy of this era. Go beat up people who don't worship demons. And should I say it the lore way or the out of universe way? We'll go with the lore way first. The in-universe explanation is that a lot of the information about this war was lost to time. The out-of-universe explanation was probably GW didn't feel like writing a book about it. So there's not too much to say about it. But it is one of the first times that demons began manifesting ever since the Great Catastrophe, when the Old One's gates blew up. So demons were a problem fighting alongside the Norskins. Chaos is at its peak in power for the first time in a while. Sigmar and Morcar fight for 24 hours straight before the Everchosen is finally defeated. Nearly killed Sigmar, but you can't kill Sigmar that easily, and that's the end. The first Everchosen's dead and gone. And that's kind of the end of, the big things going on for Sigmar. 50 years pass of his reign. It's peaceful, it's simple. Sigmar was a pretty good ruler. So the Empire was, growing and prospering.
Did they finally get brick cesspits now?
They did. In fact, Sigmar, he leaves. He just stands up and leaves. Like when he just gets up and goes, "Yeah, I'm done," he just leaves. He's got some bodyguards and like a retinue going through Talabheim, one of the states in the Empire that formed. He stays there for a night and admiring that it's not just Altdorf prospering; it's all of his realm. So yeah, now they have in fact discovered brick.
I seem
We
like they
built an
trade.
aqueduct. Yay!
They've been trading now. They trade with dwarves now, like pretty openly. They're like, my
Yeah.
god.
That definitely helped.
Yeah, there's this thing called an
bloody
iron
stupid humans.
skillet.
This is how you make an aqueduct, you bloody idiots.
Have you guys heard of the anvil? It's great.
It's amazing.
To be fair, they never get to the point where they have flushing toilets, though. So, I mean,
Yeah.
By the
Well,
way,
I think
we
we
got
have
a
a
donation.
donation.
from
Do you want to read that out,
Bunny
Andy?
Cop. Yeah, sure. For $5, Bunny
thank you,
Cop
brother.
said, "Thank you. Every time there's a new main character, Nagash must rise to challenge the status. Love to you guys. I work now."
Love you too.
Hope you and
Thank you,
hope
brother.
work goes
Thank you.
well, Chief.
Is the disappearance of Sigmar kind of like the Rust disappearance, where he just looks up and he goes, "Vision," and then there's like, "I have to leave now," or it's
Who?
just the disappearance of Russ, like Lehman Russ just.
Oh, no, it doesn't seem like there was any critical factor where Lehman Russ was kind of like, I need to go now. What am I doing? I can't sit around
I
feasting.
need to
at
find
the
a tree.
thing.
A really
I
big
need to find a tree. Sigmar seems to have just decided he was done being the emperor, so he just got up and left.
He'd been holding a fart for so long.
For
He
80,
just-
he was 80 years old by this
He
point,
went
so
to
he had been
step-
building.
He went to step outside just to he to lead the entire empire to be able to release the wind, and it gave an aneurysm or something.
But yeah, at Talabheim, he dismisses the remainder of his followers that kept with him. He starts walking towards the World Edge Mountains, and he looks back upon what the realm he built one last time, and he was pretty happy with what he saw for the first time.
How old is he?
80 years old by this point.
God, day in the life of a true Sigmar geezer.
Indeed. Yeah, he looks back and sees I did good, because he sees roads and trades and stuff, whereas before, when he first looked out after Dooming Day, it was like, that's a lot of scared people hiding in tents and really hoping beastmen aren't around, whereas now it was people pretty safely going through the forest, just living their
Yeah.
life, towns.
And at least they're burying their poop now. That's an improvement.
It's very true. Outhouses have just been invented.
Well, to be fair, there's nothing that gets a society rocking more when the toilets and if you go travel abroad and the toilets are really nice, you're like, man, I love this country. It makes the holiday better. You have to admit.
I'm not
Come
well
on.
travelled,
I
but
don't-
there is
when I-
that thing where you go to certain like restaurants or pubs, and you go to the bathroom, and you go, very nice, it's shiny. Ooh,
Bro, when
look
the
at
when
taps.
the toilets
I-
are like the private like full cubicle and there's a sink in there with you, my
Mm.
god, we're
What-
balling.
Where are you going to the bathroom that the toilet has a sink next to it?
No, as in like it's like the stall. The stalls are so
Yeah,
big that
there's
they're
a
like properly
Yeah.
cordoned off, and they have toilet. Like everyone's got a sink and a toilet.
Huh.
That's-
No, you lost me. I don't
Do
want.
you mean like there's
Hal
multiple
goes to dinner
sinks in the
services at
restroom?
Buckingham Palace, apparently.
As in, yeah, there's
Is it-
some restaurants have that where like the bathrooms are they're almost like mini entire bathrooms, like entire things in there. Not because it's not like a shared sink.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
like
it's
where there's multiple
is that not
sinks?
common?
Yeah,
Yeah,
is
that's
that
what I
not
said.
common?
No, not some.
Wow,
just
another
have, like, this is-
American win. And yet
How- what
another
are you
No,
talking
because like
about?
American
some of
win.
them are just they're just stalls, aren't they? And then there's one or two sinks.
Like everywhere you go,
sometimes.
there's a bunch of sinks here, pretty much.
Kind of
No, but as in
depends, like,
I'm talking about ones where they used to have like there's a sink in each stall,
yeah.
So
Like,
is the
multiple-
sink in the stall?
but it's not like a wooden stall; it's like a stone one. I don't think
I have no idea
this
what
doesn't
Hal is
sound
saying.
mad.
What do you mean?
I feel like I'm describing this wrong because you'll see it. You'll be like, "That's what you meant."
It's like the way you're describing it, Hal. It's like if an alien went to a bathroom on Earth and then tried to tell a
don't
human
know
how a
how wrong
bathroom
I'm-
works, and we're like,
I feel like I'm
"You
getting this
live
right.
here." Huh?
So it's like a stone rectangle with a
I
toilet and
wanna
then
get
a
to the
sink. Is
bottom
that
of
what
And
you're
then there's a
saying?
bucket, and
Yeah,
then
it's like
there's a
the whole-
stick with a sponge
With a
soaked in
sponge,
vinegar.
yeah, you
Like,
get the
what?
Roman
Hang on,
shit sponge.
we've gone back in time. Hang on.
There's a guy
I
named
don't-
Eric who just sits there with the sponge. He's holding the stick and the sponge.
Oh,
Just 'cause- yeah. Like, don't touch it.
And Eric's got spilled food on his uniform.
Oh.
We're not going into toilet lore at this point. We're restarting with what's
How will we
football,
be doing a
because
separate
honestly,
video on his own
football
channel
is
at a later date?
not American football. American football should be its own thing.
Are the sinks in the stall? I'm still confused about this. That'd be
Bro,
disgusting.
They are in the disability ones where they're quite large.
Well, yeah, that
But
I
usually
can
they're sectioned
get,
off.
but
Yeah, but it's just like that, except the.
I
toilet
don't
doesn't
want a
lie.
sink in the stall I just took a shit in.
That's
That's
what not every
disgusting.
bathroom has anyway. Doesn't
No.
your bathroom have a sink in it?
Yeah, there's sinks in there. They're not in the public stall. Like, are you
Okay,
describing the sink being like right next to the toilet? Like, if you reach
No,
far
like,
enough, you
it's
could-
a little bit far away from it.
it's
a
not
bit-
in the stall. If you close the door,
The
the sink's
stall
not
is
with
bigger
you.
than a normal stall. It's not the same size as a regular stall.
That's
That'd be
just the
crazy.
disabled-
This is a
stall.
tangent, isn't it?
No, but a lot of them, there's like places where that's just the normal size, and they're stacked like that. I feel like that's not that crazy. Like, it's, okay, people could act like this is not they came from the Warhammer lore, like Sigma Skibidi
Toilet's beginner to expert. I don't.
My God, we're arguing about
I
toilets.
don't. What is your toilet? It's a toilet. There's a sink in there because it's a home toilet, not a public restroom.
Yeah, it basically just look like home toilet sort of setup. That's what it looks like, but then in restaurant. But there's loads of them. I don't know how it can get
man.
complicated. I feel like this is so obvious. Like,
The
I
way
know
you
what I'm saying.
I don't know what you're saying.
Okay, moving on. Moving
You
on.
might as well have just been like, but you go into the toilet, you go into the restroom, and then there's like one per flight of stairs, and you're like, what do you mean flight of stairs? Why is there that in that? It's like,
Poor
there's
old
a variable
Poor
here
old
that doesn't-
Sigma just wanted to use a toilet to blow a fart that's been holding him for 80 years. Think about a rocker dwarven hold.
Anyway, Sigmar.
Sigmar, who's that? We're talking about
Poor
toilets.
Sigma slander.
We're still talking about toilets.
we are.
We're just finishing
All right,
up.
look, it was Sigmar.
Sigma
Sigma-
disappeared because he needed to fart so bad.
This is the revolt. What the did I just wander into? Crap, did I just wander into? Thank you for the 2 bucks.
Please like
Thank you.
please like the video for the more toilet.
Christ.
lore.
We're gonna move on now.
Do you know
Uh,
in British toilets they don't have one tap? There's 2 taps as well.
What do you?
That's not true. The one at the fucking
There's one
hotel
tap for
me and
hot
Andy
water.
stayed at only had one toilet
There's
handle.
most places.
What do you
in the
mean
UK
tap
have-
for a toilet? There's a handle.
No, in the sink. There's a
Two.
tap for hot water and tap for cold water.
Hot and cold. Unless you get the nice ones, which are the bars, which you can move you with your arm.
Yeah,
like in
or
hospitals.
a lot of them. Ones built recently have just single ones, but most places in the UK have 2 taps, which is one for hot water, one for cold.
That seems so inefficient. Why not just have one that can do hot
I'm
and
not
cold?
even joking though.
'Cause it
Yo,
takes a while
British
to-
people in the chat, please
To
represent.
be honest,
Like,
the
I'm not
amount of
lying.
times I've been to a club and I've seen people not using the sink anyway to wash their
Oh,
hands.
well, yeah,
Like, what's the
that's-
point?
That's
What's the point?
Oh yeah, that's always you go at like a crowded bar. It's someone
Mm.
goes in the bathroom and basically just walks
Or
out.
the worst one is you're on a night out and you see someone go to the toilet and you're in like the thing and you see them, they've gone for a wee and they've not washed their hands and you walk out and then he goes to his girlfriend and goes and it's like, ugh, wash your hands, sir. Jeez.
Yeah,
bro.
it's disgusting.
Happens at the gym too.
You must have the urinal. That's just the sheet of
Did you say
stainless steel,
urinal?
right?
Did-
Urinal.
Say
Urinal.
Bro, say urinal right now.
What urinal? Like
Do
that.
you
Yeah.
Andy, back me up here. I'm not wrong.
To be fair, it is pronounced urinal most of the time
What?
This is I'm not even
Oh my
joking.
because
God.
it's urine.
British
You have
people
you
out
have
of
on
their
the
mind.
set.
what
Urinal
is
like
the, what is
urinal.
the what is the medical term for piss? Urine.
Urine.
Yeah, urine, which is
Urine.
urea. Urea
Urine.
is the compound in
Urine.
urine.
Yeah, well, yeah. The compound is urea,
Urine.
but either way,
But you're not.
you
We're not
say
saying it differently.
urinal.
You're just saying it. It's just the accent because it's not urine. It's urine.
It's like
in
an
my
Eli
accent.
getting exasperated in the corner. Like,
I mean, to be fair, people
I'm
must know about.
going.
You know what I'm talking about? Like, there's the stainless steel
welcome to
wall
Toilet Hammer,
that just has, like,
episode 5.
a trough
I'm
in the middle
going
of it.
to England on the 4th of July, and I am lighting every firework I can find.
While throwing tea into the sea.
Yeah.
You should do it on the 5th
Oh.
of November. That's our we have firework night where we
Yeah.
celebrate Guy Fawkes, who almost assassinated the
It
king.
almost blew up Parliament.
Yeah, it's best,
Yeah.
one of the best holidays ever. It's great.
People came for their Sigma Warhammer. People, or probably all the listeners, who are going to hear like the random toilet 20-minute debacle.
We're getting a lot of
of
British heat in the chat, so you know where this is a good day.
This is still good.
Still drive on the left side of the road as well.
But Sigmar leaves.
Just as the Queen intended.
Oh, we got
Yeah,
$2
never-
from Jeremy Golden. He says urine. Thank you.
Yeah, you're in. Thank you.
What, you're in?
That's just what
You're
someone says
in.
when you got a job.
You-
You're in. It's like,
You're in.
no, you've said it wrong.
Oh my gosh.
Bro, if it's English and I'm saying it in England, it's the correct one.
Yeah, well, it's our language now.
It's really not.
I can't believe Colin colonized our language.
This is really giving me
we don't speak English. We
this
speak
is giving
American.
Don't you dare say
Aluminum.
that word.
aluminum
Oh,
aneurysm here. Aluminium.
I just can't believe how much that spiraled out. of
That was actually
control.
fine.
I've been
settled
going for
like
like
that.
10 minutes.
That finally was settled, that debate. The whole, how do you pronounce aluminum?
So, Colin, how
aluminium.
does Sigmar go to the toilet?
He shits in a hole because he was a barbarian
Cool.
warlord.
Cool.
Sounding the war on a brown note? He was he really
He
did.
grabs
Did
a
he live-
leaf and then goes
Where's
to the bathroom.
Galmaraz, by the way?
Oh,
He
he-
leaves Galmaraz, doesn't he?
He takes it with him.
I thought because the Empire had Galmaraz, like
Like
Sigmar.
his leader?
They
Carl
they
Franz.
find it again later. There's also
Ah.
rumors that the one the Empire had, while it's still a very potent magical artifact, is not the true Galmaraz.
Mm,
Oh, was it a fake?
sad.
It's because there's some things that while Sigmar had it, the modern one can't do. But so they argue that might be not the real Galmaraz. But there's also other people like Inlor argue that maybe it's just because Sigmar was holding it, we can't do it. Or people just made that up. Legend got exaggerated after 2,500 years.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So he did take it with him. At some point, they either got it back in their possession or they made a new one.
Do you reckon he had two handles for it? One for hot, one for cold as well?
One for ice magic, one for fire magic.
Bruh. Hard to explain
Ugh.
how we do things kind of like backward here.
Ugh. But yeah, he leaves through Blackfire Pass and leaves. He does beat the shit out of a Lord of Change before he does that and locks it in Galmaraz. He just kind of does that at 80 years old. Pretty good. Pardon me. And yeah, that's it. 100 years after this, the dwarfs give the Empire a replica of Galmaraz, though they assumed eventually humanity would call this one the real one, which turned out being spot on, because that's kind of exactly what happened. Still a magical hammer, but, not quite proper Galmaraz. And in at least one of the books, Sigmar did have a kid whose descendants might even be alive to modern Warhammer fantasy. he had no official heirs, and that's the official story at large. Like he had no heirs. He
Is
claimed.
Karl Franz a descendant of Sigmar?
I don't believe so.
I thought that was because that was there was like an argument about like, oh, the elected counts of Reichland are descendants of Sigmar.
They claim
claim
that
it,
maybe,
yeah.
but that doesn't necessarily mean anything.
But isn't Karl Franz's ISP or USP that like he's just like a regular guy who's just done a really good job, and that's
Yeah.
why he's cool. Yeah,
He was born
People-
into this world just like you.
because I hate it when series do that, where it's just like, oh, here's a character who just like did the, and it's like, no, actually, that's stupendous Skywalker the Third. You're like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah, no.
I
To
just
my
wanted someone to be a cool person without having to be a descendant of someone who was also cool.
The Rey Skywalker effect.
Yeah.
to my knowledge, there's no like blood relation. Although they do come together for a bit in the end times, which we'll get to soon because we kind of cut through quite a bit of years after
To be
this.
fair, it is like someone saying they're a descendant of Charlemagne, not realizing like everyone in Europe
That's half of Europe.
and North American, all of us are a descendant of Charlemagne
Yeah.
as well. I do have a donation as well. Do you want-
Mhm.
Eli or Andy, do you want to read that one out?
He says, "This is the revolt." I think that's what. Yeah, thank you for the $2. Sigmar, god of trench latrines. Sounds about right now. DJ
Yep.
Beast also said Sigmar got Gal Moraz in one-handed mode, so he can held in his hammer. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Who
Very
held
British
in
must
their
learn to
hammer
speak
right
English
now.
right. That's right.
This
Alright.
is like a bit off topic, but there's one random cool bit in the Stormlight Archive series I'm reading where they have like something called they have like powerful suits of armor. Can't remember the name. I'm
Shard
blanking.
plate.
Shard plate. And there is one character who basically all the nobles, kind of like how Galmar has like a super powerful weapon. They only use these things as weapons, whereas one character at one point just uses the armor and like just a regular like beefy hammer to start digging a trench. And he even says
he
like
builds a latrine, literally. Actually,
yeah, like he actually literally builds a latrine. So he says like he's surprised like no one before ever thought about using super weapons to do ordinary tasks like that. And it's an interesting inverse on like the fancy thing. Like Gal Moraz is a great hammer, but could it also do other things as well?
Dalinar,
Just-
best character.
Yeah.
For real,
Oh.
for real.
Give me that Kaladin boy. Kaladin! Mr. Expressio Depressio, that guy. So upset.
What was
That's my
that?
rant over.
Where- I'm blanking. I found
Oh,
my
see?
spot. I
Yeah.
found where I was. He claimed all of mankind was to be the heir to the throne. Everyone ever was his heir. So the kings of the tribes that made up the empire would elect one of their own to become the emperor, and that's how we get the elector counts that you must summon at all times. Yes. As you could probably assume, Sigmar's not quite done yet, because as the years went on, more and more rumors of Sigmar, no, that's the wrong setting. Sigmar, he would either appear in times of crisis or just people would see him watching over his land. These rumors kind of started popping up. And at one point, a nut job named Johann Hellstrom preached word of a vision he had where Ulrich had gifted Sigmar with divinity, and this religion spread like wildfire. And it spread for a couple reasons. The like cults of Ulrich and the other established gods weren't the biggest fans of the competition, but the average person loved it. The nobles loved it too, because Hellstrom preached that the laws set down by Sigmar were divine, so they now had the divine right to rule. They got to cheat and be like, nope, Sigmar put us in charge. It's real, for real. 2 donations. Did we read the toilet advertisement? Nagel 1992. I'm getting toilet advertisements now.
Sorry, bro.
No problem.
Thanks for the $2.
Thank
Angry
you for the
homunculus.
toilet law.
Angry homunculus. It is also a hammer. Thank you for the 2
Thank
pound.
you, brother.
What is the chat? Fuck you,
Do you see
Rares Pepe.
DJ Beast's comment? Colin's dementia took him for a second. That's good.
All I know is
Leave
Fortnite
Colin
and
alone.
Skibbity Toilet. Also, people who claim to worship Sigmar started having miracles happen. So
Well, that's helpful.
There was some proof that Sigmar was maybe just a little bit divine. And the official cult of Sigmar came into being in 73 IC, 23 years after he fucked off. And fun fact, the replica Galmaraz started to gain powers that couldn't have been through the work of the dwarves. So Sigmar, even if that may or may not be his hammer, still a holy artifact, still some proof that Sigmar is indeed a god. And then we get to what he was doing for 2,500 years, which was being stuck in a magical tornado.
Does it ever explain how that happens?
Yes. So Johann was right. Sigmar had indeed ascended to godhood, which was a bit of a problem in the specifics, because, you know, the Chaos Gods saw what Sigmar was doing and were like, this is really going to screw with our plans if he unites all of mankind and kind of keeps pushing our shit in like this. So Tzeentch, and one of the few times he ever actually did anything in fantasy, trapped Sigmar in the magical vortex at the center of Ulthuan, which oh god, what now? God damn it!
DJBs, no.
Ugh.
Bullying.
He's
bangers.
He's stuck in the vortex. This does, on the one hand, mean that, you know, Sigmar can't directly do anything. He can. He kind of gets emperored here. He's stuck in the vortex and can't leave. He can empower people, you know, with little miracles, stuff like that, but not much directly anymore. But on the other hand, he's trapped in the magical vortex where all of the ambient magic in the world is drained away. And because he's stuck in there, he's just soaking up more and more and more magic into himself. So he ascends to proper godhood that way and becomes bound to the magical wind of Azir, of heaven. And then we skip to the end times, because like I said, 2,500 years, brother was not doing much. Teclis is here now, trying to do his stupid thing where he binds the winds of magic to all the important elves. Pretty much none of this went according to plan, because most of the winds just kind of flew to wherever would be important. I believe only 2 of them, I guess 3 of them. He got the wind of light in his staff, Malekith got shadow, and I believe Alariel didn't end up getting life. 5 out of 8 did not go according to plan, which is a failing grade. But heaven did not just fly off randomly to inhabit some poor bastard who's about to get a hell of a power boost. Sigmar already got bound himself to it, so he's the incarnate of heaven. So when the vortex breaks, because Teclis does a bit of a fucky-wucky, and Slaanesh starts crawling into the world, Sigmar throws himself across the planet and jumps into the body of Karl Franz, who at this point had just had his arms cut off by the Glotkin and was going through it, to say the least. He had cried out to Sigmar for salvation, and Sigmar inhabited his body, cleansed Altdorf of Nurgle taint, grew Karl Franz's arms back because he's a god. He can just kind of do that.
That's mental.
He's a god. He's a god. He can just do that.
It's just like, I've just had a moment where I've just found out that he lost both his arms, and just like the idea of them just going like, and then they're back. Wow,
pretty much.
It's an extra set on the floor, apparently.
This is what the specifics of this are immediately retconned in the next End Times book, because I believe the book where this happens ends with Karl Franz internally noting he feels a presence in his body that is not himself. And then it's immediately revealed after this, actually, Karl Franz was dead. Sigmar in his body puppeting him like a meat puppet. So, you know, GW retconning aside, Sigmar is now Karl Franz. When Valten bites it and he gets Galmaraz back.
Oh wow, we have a donation by Leon.
Thank you for the 30 pounds. I do like my true God Emperor, but I'm too busy. Fight for Super Earth. Hell yeah, brother. So I will watch it later. P.S. Night Lord's his best legion. Death to the Knife Ears, and Fulgrim is the worst Primarch. Goodbye. Wow, you were just on a roll with that one.
Those are some call and takes if I've ever heard them. But thank you. We very much appreciate the donation.
Well, let's kill this man.
My God, Fulgrim was Primarch. First Manus exists.
F. Yeah, he's got Galmaraz, so he goes to beat up Archaon. Unfortunately, Warhammer Fantasy is not profitable, so his fate is sealed. And with that, the setting ends with he drives Archaon away at first, and I believe he tosses him into the Chaos Rift they're making at Middenheim. Archaon crawls out of it. They start wrestling over Galmaraz, and they both fall into the chaos portal that's overtaking the world as the setting ends. And then Sigmar's gone for not ever, because the sequel is named Age of Sigmar. If that's a spoiler, I'm very sorry. Yeah, he's back. He won that battle. He got Galmaraz from Archaon, lost the planet. So he's just kind of floating on the core of the world when he finds the dragon Dracothian, who reforms, the mortal realms, helps get reality kicking in after chaos destroys it. And Sigmar goes to work again. He's not going to let the world blowing up stop him. He starts protecting the re-emerging races of man, elf, and dwarf, not calling them the copyright names, don't care, and freeing and allying with any of the gods he finds. He finds Nagash first, and decides to free Nagash, which might sound really unbelievably stupid at first, but to be fair, it is stated that Sigmar kind of desperately needed allies at this point, because this was the first person they found. He knows Nagash is powerful, doesn't have many options at this point. It's either fight the darkness alone or accept Nagash will betray you later. So there's reason given that he frees Nagash instead of killing him on the spot. Thank you, Pump. I think it's just going off.
It's just alerting us of a donation. Oh, I can't read it. The poll's in the way. There we go.
Oh, we did.
Donation by Nogwall 1992. Thank you, brother. He says, will you guys have a game night with Total War? Fantasy over 40k? Change my mind.
My man.
All real, all true.
Yeah, we're having more game nights, I think, than we've done in a few months. We like gaming.
By Total War, you mean Fortnite, then?
maybe one day I'll get Fortnite on the Switch and I'll join the other two.
I talked about the gaming PC on stream, Andy. The first game, Fortnite.
But we would like to do Total War someday. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Thrones of Decay is about to come out as a time recording, so was waiting to hear all the
disaster.
Extensive reviews from the rest of the community. And I think there was news recently today. Was it like loads of employees of Sega companies like Creative Assembly? Loads of people got laid off. So
it was 240 people, but I think like 160 of them were from Creative Assembly.
Oh my god!
The other 80 were from the other two companies. Yeah, it's not looking good,
bruh. I don't know, bruh. It's
F.
I mean, I don't know if that's well. We don't want to comment on people's job losses. But as in terms of enjoying a Warhammer Fantasy game, it seems like the Warhammer Fantasy setting might kill itself at this point.
Truly, so once sad. Again, we will get the end times.
Oh, end times 2. Oh my
Total
gosh.
War Boogaloo. Where was I? Sigmar and Nagash, right. They just start beating up God Beast. Not Boingob, though. Boingob is too powerful for them.
Praise be to Boingob. Boingob has a mega church, and he needs your help. He wants to buy a thing, like a ship, to go towards the sun.
We need a helicopter for law crimes and a pad. Like, we need a helicopter so we can get so I can get a helicopter on this side of my balcony, and we can put it there, and then I can fly these three in, and we could do a local podcast.
Yes,
so we need you to donate
that.
minimum $100,000 a month for fuel costs and everything, and then we can truly praise Boingob like he.
In fact, I can hear Boingob now in my ear telling me I need a private jet.
You need to fund us a rocket so I can fly into the sun and truly go out like Boingob would.
Boingob prosperity gospel right now.
And when it and then before it explodes, we'll also make flyers fall from the heavens with Boingob. It's like, have you heard the word of Boingob? You too can launch yourselves into the sun.
Boingob is so hungry. He's hungry for 10% of your income.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you, incoming backup, for the 30 shekels. Frankly, I don't think we... Oh, this man is spitting here. I don't think we appreciate just how impressive of a feat it is that Sigmar Sugmar Nas
Sogmar
managed to possibly match Gorka Morka, a god that is at least as powerful as a chaos god, if not more, to fight. Big true. Gork and Mork, when they were different in 40k, beat the shit out of Khorne. And Sigmar is equal to them fuse. I'm just saying. Better than the Emperor? Better than Big E? Yes. Stronger? Yes. Yes.
But not better than Boingob.
No one could be. Except for Nagash.
Such is the power of
Wow.
I'm switching allegiances. But yeah, they fight back beasts that would give the Chaos Gods pause. They find the rest of the survivors from the old world, Gorka Morka, Malekith, Tyrion Teclis, Grimnir, Grungi, all the old races and their gods. They find them. And they form, the pantheon of the mortal realms. It was pretty good. It was called the Age of Myth. It was a pretty peaceful time. Not 100% peaceful, because once Nagash brings back Manfred, the first thing he does is get 2 dwarf clans killed. So there's not zero conflict. But compared to, later, it's pretty good, pretty all right, pretty good. Then Gorka Morka remembers he's an orc god and tries to beat up all of reality at once before turning around and doing it again. The first part he does. The second part, Sigmar breaks him into 2 respective gods before he can pull it off. Everyone starts going their own ways as chaos starts showing up and the various gods go to tend their own rather than forming a united front. Nagash was actually the last one to leave his side, but he kind of kicked Sigmar and his armies in the balls on the way out. So Sigmar chased him all the way back to Nagash's home realm, where he remembered that there was kind of a major battle going on while he had just left to chase Nagash like a Scooby-Doo villain, and then ran back to that battle known as the Battle of Burning Skies, where Tzeentch and Archaon trick him. Archaon had finally shown up after, ending reality the last time. Now he's back. He throws Galmaraz at Archaon, whereupon Archaon shatters into little pieces, but not in a good way this time because it was just an illusion. So now he doesn't have his hammer, chaos is everywhere, all of his allies have left, and it's not looking great. So Sigmar goes to his home realm of Azir, locks the doors of the entire realm of reality, and just tells everyone good luck, I've got something to work on. So for a few hundred years, he's doing that.
About to drop the most aggressive mixtape.
Indeed, but it takes some time to craft. He's got to cook for a while.
Let him cook, boys.
Yeah,
let him cook.
So in the meantime, the other 7 realms are getting obliterated by Chaos Warriors. Not great. Shadows also does all right. Malekith is the only one to ever actually beat Archaon in a fight, even though they changed his name now. So still not the Phoenix King.
Oh,
Yeah. I'm afraid that ship sunk with Ulthuan. Still not the Phoenix King.
I'm afraid that ship
Phoenix
sunk
King
with
for like 10
Ulthuan.
minutes, okay.
Wow.
Still counts.
Horrific.
Nope, don't count. But yeah, Sigmar, after hundreds of years of sitting in his room and building his Warhammer minis, he's come back with these Stormcast Eternals, these Sigmarines.
He has no unpainted models. It's crazy.
Nope, they're all painted. His full 20 million point Sigmarine army.
And they all have more than 3 colors. It is unbelievable.
It's truly, it is good to be a Sigmar worshipper.
Can you get in a tabletop? Because you have to have tournaments. You have to have more than 3 colors, isn't it? Could you not just
3
have
color minimum?
Yeah, black, silver, and then just one dot of color?
Yeah, technically, you have to. They have to be based as well, though. I think for battle ready in 40k. Yeah, they do. Because one time I borrowed a unit from my friend that was better painted than my whole army. It was 5. It was 5 Howling Banshees, and the rest of my army was fully painted and based. And the TO said, "I'm not battle ready," and so I lost 30 points immediately just by walking.
I thought it was 10.
It's 10 points per game.
Mm.
So I tied for 2nd place, but then after 30 points are taken away from not being battle ready, I was 4th place. I was so mad, especially because everyone else at the tournament said it was fine and I can have my points.
That's ridiculous.
Can we
What's
get
such a BM?
an F in the chat for Eli, please?
Truly tragic.
I feel for you.
What
Go ahead.
just getting one of their base paints and just painting the model with it count? Like you're like Sterling Mud.
Well, it was my buddies, and I knew he wouldn't want them to.
No,
base,
I'm just like
but-
at like I've never played
Oh.
a competitive
Yeah.
tournament. Like
Yeah,
just
just
getting
having-
like Sterling mud and just painting over
Yeah.
the base.
Yeah, that's an easy way to do it.
That's fucking stupid.
I'm sure there are some tournaments where people are still painting the minis like outside of the
yeah.
venue.
I believe
Yeah.
it. Probably for the army that they swear they've been totally meaning to pick up. And the fact that it's meta right now is a sheer coincidence, I assure you,
Yeah,
Mr.
for real.
Tournament Proctor.
And it also, there's the luck of like when you play a game and like the minute you've just painted like to a really good standard, that one always dies first.
Oh, yeah, that one gets
Mhm.
executed.
Bruh, my like I'm painting I have an Angron proxy, which is Usharan, and I've given him like he has has that mace he's like holding like as a ghoul, and I've also given him like I had a spare cleaver that Magnus the Red has in his Primarch model. So he's dual wielding 2 weapons at this moment now, but my god, does that base need finishing? It's a little fat, the base. it's a little bit bigger than the normal Primarch level size ones, but it's not nowhere I'd be allowed in a tournament. But damn, is that cool?
Yeah, we're almost done here. Sigmar,
it's almost over. Sigmar's gone.
we're almost
Sigmar's
free.
there and kind of not there in the lore.
He's learned to delegate, which I think for a Warhammer god, not wanting to do everything himself is a pretty good bit of character development. Good on him, Sigmar. He's also trying to work on the process of the Stormcast Eternals, because he might have accidentally made them a bit more Thunder Warrior-y than Space Marine-y, because the reforging process is still not perfect. Part of that is Nagash's fault, because he takes a bit of their soul every time they die. But even without that, it's not perfect, and if they die too many times, they kind of turn into a soulless lightning automaton, which is metal as hell. But Sigmar doesn't view his followers as pawns on a board. Like, he views his worshippers as people, and he doesn't want his people to be turned into robots.
And to be fair, he used to be a people. He's like, I
He
remember
did.
what it was like to be a people. I was
remember.
one of them.
I don't want.
Is
I
he
don't-
like the Emperor in the sense that people, when they see him, they don't see his true form? Like, I don't know.
He is. No, he's very godly. He doesn't hide what he is. He knows he's a god. He accepts his worshippers and powers.
Is it more
them.
like human meets Zeus in a way? It's like, oh, that's like
Yeah,
that's
it's
rippled Zeus who always looks like Zeus.
yeah, it's like meeting a Greek god in the flesh. Basically, is what it is like to meet Sigmar.
Damn.
Yeah, he's working on that. He's pretty stressed over the fact wasn't able to perfect the process in time for when he ended up releasing the Stormcast. But reality was buckling under chaos, so he was just going out like, all right, now's the time. They're not perfect, but it is what it is. Time for ground marines, truly. Eli, what are you laughing at in chat? I'm assuming I'm missing something.
CJB says if they die too much, they become Colin's Fortnite gameplay, lifeless and
I
bland.
dome rocked like 5 people on that stream, and all you remember is the
My
admittedly
God.
very bad
Oh, man.
spray on that one.
My college friend, when I went to school the next day, he was making fun of us about how bad our lobbies are.
We won twice, and we got second like twice.
because our lobbies
yeah.
sucked.
That's not our problem.
Can't wait for our Rainbow Six Siege stream as well, where we inevitably get
Oh, dude,
rage.
Hal, you're
I
gonna
love
hate
trolling
me.
in that. I'm so bad at it.
I'm afraid to tell you that I'm exclusively Sledge with a shotgun, man.
That's not that bad because it's the Master Chief, isn't it?
Yeah, I get the Master Chief skin, I put on the shotgun and yell warrior and charge it.
Bro, I like playing on NA servers just because I'm a little bit too slow now in terms of when I'm getting closer to 30, I can tell I'm getting rubbish.
What does that mean?
And if
You
I
still
was if I was
freaking
40, I'd be
dogging on me.
horrific. But because my age,
Excuse
Excuse
me.
me.
You were dog calling.
if it's a
I
little bit
was not
delayed,
dog.
any game it helps.
This is slander.
We did take 2 W's.
Yeah,
But
Christ.
I don't like playing Sonos on NA server because if they hear my voice, they go like, "You right, mate? Yeah." I thought they start doing it.
As it should be.
Need to upgrade their stereotypes because I'm not Oliver Twist or something. It doesn't sound like that. I swear. Oliver Twist slander.
Yeah, ever since the Stormcast, the age of Sigmar officially began, he's really just been working on the Stormcast and getting ready to fight everyone ever all at once because it's a Warhammer setting and allies are a suggestion.
What are they have like Sigmar vaults as well?
Storm vaults, I believe. They're
Storm vaults,
artifacts
alright.
and stuff and like creatures that, for one reason or another, he locked away during the Age of Myth, either because he couldn't destroy it or he didn't quite want to, but he also didn't want them free or people finding them. Some of which held part of the Ossiarch Bone Reapers, at least their main general character. Some of which held monsters, some of which had weapons that he just didn't want to use. So yeah, he would lock stuff up. What now?
His dad is genuinely better at Fortnite.
Fuck you. I'm sure your
dad
dad's a
works at
lovely person.
Nintendo. Yeah.
My God,
No.
DJ Beast.
Fortnite isn't. It's the Abyss Watchers versus Pepe.
Hmm.
It's a good fight.
Dude's relentless. He's just
Anyways, when Morathi ascends to godhood, he snubs her by sending the Celestin Prime to deal with her instead, which is like the head Stormcast, with the implication being she's still not worth his time, which is Morathi finds very rude. But maybe she shouldn't be such a colossal bitch. She did kind of steal a city from under his nose when she did this, so I understand him not wanting to be terribly kind to her. I'm going to move on before I continue talking about Morathi and, the usual
Get
stream
hot
of
under the
garbage pours
collar.
out of my mouth. He wants to fight. He does want to go back to how he used to be as a mortal and just fight alongside his troops. But he knows his responsibilities as a god comes first. He can't oversee things. He can't answer prayers if he's just on the ground beating things up. Whatever he's
can't
fighting
be
is
Sigmar the barbarian anymore.
yeah, that's pretty much exactly it. Whatever he's fighting will probably get obliterated, but he knows that his responsibilities are a lot greater than when he was just the emperor of the Empire of Man, or his Unborogan tribe. He also wants to kind of ascend into the winds of magic, but only after the war is won, in his own words. So when Chaos is fully defeated, which will never happen because then we won't have Warhammer, but it's nice to have goals, and if that
He
were to ever
doesn't know
happen,
that.
yeah. He's in universe. He doesn't know what's impossible. That's not fair to judge him by
I'm
that
sure
standard.
Be'lakor wouldn't be as I'm going to war if he knew that at the end of the day it was just so we could paint little versions of him. And he's like, I don't like this.
He'd
How
probably
dare you?"
be a lot less hyped.
To be fair, the Skaven did
Yeah.
contact the Eldar, didn't they? So I wonder at the point if they could contact
They
who the
did.
hell's who the hell's Gaines Workshop or something? Like they contact an order from Black Library or something. Be
Is
crazy.
there a canon Emperor Karl Franz Sigmar Marine? Did they talk about
He's
it at
the
all?
Celestin Prime. My
Like,
evidence for that.
canonically, or is it ever just we all say?
Well, the Celestin Prime was a king in the old world, and before you say Franz was an emperor, consider that the Empire of Man in AOS is referred to as a kingdom. Therefore, it's Franz. Fuck off.
I mean, who else would they imply it to be other than, I guess,
Boris Todbringer.
maybe Alcadizar or something? He was a
Nah.
king, Tomb King, Cetra.
It's probably not Cetra because there was that
wanna use that for
character
something else.
Cetrus. It was the character named Cetrus leading the storm host known as the Imperishables, which is
Wow.
giant neon sign. Hey,
Wow.
who could this
I thought
guy be?
I thought they confirmed that wasn't.
Well, that was the original intention. Then they killed him, but the reason being GW did not want Cetra used in this manner. So Cetra,
Need
if he
to-
does come back, probably won't be a Stormcast.
Because
at
if a character's worthy of being a model, they'll be immortal, pretty
Yeah.
much. I mean, very rarely do GW even kill off a character. I think the only thing I ever can think of is Yarick. Like, that's the only time a character has supposedly been killed off.
Didn't they kill off the head Ethereal too? I don't remember his name.
Anva.
Yeah, sure.
But then he's back as a
Yeah,
a
he's out, no one
hologram.
cares.
So he's
Yeah, but
actually
Yeah, but
not
he's
gone.
like,
Yeah, he's
but
pretty
still
dead.
And
Yeah.
I don't even know if he's in the Codex anymore. I don't think he's in the Codex. So,
Yeah, well, fair.
F.
As much as we complain, some characters just don't get it. You know what I mean? Like, they just
She's
stay
not
around
even in the
forever.
Codex, bro. Oh, gosh. Just not gonna play Tau this edition. It's fine.
Truly, Tau players are suffering. Billions must battle suit.
But imagine
But
being
Eli
an Iron Hands
Crew.
player.
Are you not rock hard for crew?
Bro, yeah, the crew are cool, but everyone in existence wanted a crew tox, and that's all they had to do. Or sorry, Greater Narlock. That's all they had to do was make a Greater Narlock. But they do zero market research. I'm so convinced.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Or to be fair, they're 3 years ahead of us, isn't it?
I think they admit they don't do market research, and that they don't think video games are worth the effort.
Yeah, seriously.
Wow.
I think there's a big disconnect between
I don't think they even.
people who use the. I think people who are it's with most companies, isn't it? Like the people who own the business and then people who actually use the product.
Because the
Just look at
CEOs
the
are on
Halo
average,
TV
like,
series. I'm sure they didn't do any research for that.
they proudly admitted they didn't do research for that one.
I don't think
Wasn't
they
there,
even
like, a big
play test
thing-
anymore. Like, it's
Wasn't there a
ridiculous.
series
Release
that
the
someone
slop.
made, and they were like, "Oh, we didn't actually look at any of the source material, even though it was like a game to TV."
Halo.
There's something.
It was Halo. They admitted they didn't play any
that
of
was
the games.
Halo, was it?
It's
Yeah.
so like
Oh,
so
my-
insane.
Halo TV is
And acted like that was a
Oh,
brag.
Yeah.
We want to go in a
Something else
different
there.
direction. Why? Bro,
Oh yeah.
it's like someone saying the recipe is really good. You know what it really needs?
Yeah. Oh, this is
Changing
delicious.
up. No.
Everyone loves it. They're lining up down the street. Let's just like put some twigs in it. It's like, what are you doing? Stop that.
I thought I would add my special spice to the recipe, so I took a fat shit in the crock pot.
Yeah.
In a separate bathroom stall that was made out of brick, and then it's clearly not has a sink next to it as well.
Some last bits on Sigmar. Always a bit of a hothead. He's born a barbarian tribal chief. He liked to hit things with hammer first and everything else second. Which, to give him credit, he does work with others. Especially AOS. He's learned to delegate. Even, back in fantasy, he was friends with the dwarves. He thought they were cool. There's some rumors that the king he saved went with him when he disappeared. Although the dwarves have no recollection of that, so if it's true, it's eh. He was fine with working with Gorka Morka and Nagash in AOS, so clearly he's at least somewhat willing to tolerate some interesting
Naked mud
allies, as it
wrestling
were.
was how he got it them on board.
That was how he made up with Gorka Morka. They beat each other up for a week straight.
Nice.
Fair enough.
Which, hey, if it works, it works.
To be fair, I do like Sigmar quite a lot. Although I do wish, I think particularly like the artwork designs is pretty safe, if you know what I mean. Like it almost could be.
Yeah.
Like I wish his armor was. You know how like the 40k Primarchs, their armor's quite.
Mhm.
For all you could say, each Primarch has got pretty decent like armor look to them, and I think Sigmar could do with a little bit.
Even
of a-
though Rogel Dawn copy
spice
pasted
up.
his dad's work, and he's like, "That's mine." I was like, "Oh yeah,
Yeah.
but that's Rogel Dawn. He's a bit like that."
I like his like the fantasy armor, like his barbarian look with a beard, and it's mostly like fur capes. I wish his AOS armor was a bit more flary, but at the same time, I think he's not a playable model. He's
Mhm.
Sigmar, the God King. I
Yeah, but
get
Nagash
that he's like,
is playable.
yeah, I don't know why Sigmar's not when almost every other realm.
I mean, to be fair, it'll be an edition where eventually he just drops and everyone's like, nut. So
I'm
that'll be
hoping.
very cool.
I mean, because Alariel is, Teclis is, Nagash. I guess Gorka Morka's not, but most of like
what's his
Malarian.
name?
He's still not
Malarian.
even. He does. Dark elves don't even
Malaria.
exist.
You know,
exist, bro.
I
It's
think
just the
there's-
snake ladies.
I think there's rumors Umbraneth are coming. I think is what they're tentatively calling them, which would be
We should
Malekith.
give
Okay.
AOS should be given a break because it's only 4th edition now, and they're giving Skaven a makeover
Give
at
it-
some point.
That doesn't.
You
that
give
just-
it a
no,
break,
They
what?
They should have had it from the start. Yeah.
As in like AOS, if you compare it to whatever Warhammer 40k was in, we can't say 4th edition, but like earlier editions, you know what I mean? Like a lot of these things need to cook longer. AOS, I feel like AOS still doesn't know what it's trying to be.
I like
Like,
that at
it's-
this point because it means they do
Yeah.
creative stuff and they just
But
throw
it-
shit at the wall and make an
so
army out of
open
it.
ended.
Movies.
It's so open ended. It's
Circle.
almost.
I would much
not.
rather be open ended than the 40k stuff we have
Yeah.
now. I'm going to be fully honest with
Yeah,
you.
for real.
Donation by Chris
Thank-
Ace 117. He says, discovered
Thank
you
you
guys a
for
month
10.
ago. Was wondering what other Warhammer movies to check out. Seen The Emperor in the
Ooh.
Last Church. You guys recommended it. It was also great. Also, are there any fantasy movies? I guess you mean like animations.
There's like a
Uh,
passion project live action,
action,
fantasy thing
yeah.
being made.
Yeah. You can also
Uh,
binge watch the Total War trailers.
Yeah, true. If
They're
you
all
if you
very
want
cool.
if you want interesting experience, you can. I'm pretty sure you can find the Space Marine movie on YouTube.
Yeah,
Like an hour and 20 minutes of
4K Ultramarine
incredible
movies
slop.
on it. It's interesting though because it's got such high caliber actors, and it's like, hold on, John Hurt is in this. What?
What is
And
this
then you watch it, and
abomination
you're like,
you've
oh,
made?
what's this
Coming back
CG?
up says, I wonder how funny it would have been if Sigmar was a lost Primarch. I mean, talk about the son outdoing the father.
I
I
kill
think
you?
that's an old.
Thank you.
That's quite an old like theory craft thing, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
and I think
He was a lost
GW
Primarch.
Muldlarian.
themselves, said that it's fantasy's not in the 40k universe, which is, but
Yeah.
you can believe
The
what
Skaven
you-
just managed to have a connection
Whatever.
somehow, but ignore that. It's fine.
I think
Mm.
even the
Speaking-
chaos just did, like the demons even say they fight in realms and universes the other things wouldn't even imagine. But to be fair, I always imagine then, my god, must they have lots of enemies and be busy? Like
Mhm.
poor old any greater demons, like was it even the Cornate ones with Sango, like, oh, we have a blood feud with the Blood Angels or something, and then it's like, but we also have a blood feud with like several other things from different.
We're also being
universes.
harassed by the Doomslayer at the moment. It's really annoying.
Don't get a break. They don't
He's
get a
getting
paid
closer to
holiday.
the throne, and we don't know how to stop him.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Speaking of, though, I'll have you know, Hal, for AOS has finally gotten its first 40k retcon lore moment that didn't need to exist, but it did with the whole
Oh.
Sigmar lied crap.
What's the lie
Oh,
bit?
yeah.
now,
I
isn't
believe
it?
the lie was
In
that the
the trailer.
Stormcast Eternal process isn't perfect, but we've known that since day one, that it turns you into a robot.
Well, because they
Yeah,
they know it as
'cause-
in like it's official now, as in
I
like
think
it's
it
Well,
was
even-
official.
set.
He had other
even in
people
the,
helping him
um,
make the Stormcast.
Well, even the whole plot line of the Black Talon series on Warhammer TV was about a Stormcast slowly losing her memory and trying to find out what happened. And it's like, I don't even know about AOS. And I was like, oh, that's.
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
that's their
It didn't
thing.
make much. It did not make much sense as like a selling point for the trailer because
Yeah,
it was
I
about Skaven. It wasn't even about like chaos
Yeah.
or something. Like
I would say was the lie that there was Skaven under the cities? Because I don't think you need to lie about that. That's just the default assumption you make.
mm,
I don't know.
Well, to be fair, maybe it's more like, oh, now everyone knows about it, as in like officially knows about it.
Maybe,
It's no longer a we keep it hush hush. Like
I
it's
don't know if
alluded
he ever
to.
made it that hush hush though, because Stormcast knew about it. Like, there's no way to hide that because once you die a couple times, you start noticing.
yeah.
But did
Man,
the
how come I
populace
don't
know?
feel happy anymore, or sad, or anything?
Was it
Or
just to
it's-
like flagship the new Stormcast faction?
It might
Is
have
that the
been,
idea?
or it's. I mean, I'll admit the line "Sigmar lied," goes kind of hard. But
It's their version of Winter is Coming, isn't it? They're trying
Yeah.
to get a catchphrase going.
unfortunately, what he lied about was something every single Stormcast is pretty aware of.
Mm.
He lied.
They
You know when I
could've-
died, like actually officially died, and then he resurrected me. Can't believe
They
that wasn't
could've-
perfect.
They could have leaned more into like Masters of the Universe, like by the power of Galmaraz, like something a bit more on the
That'd be
nose
awesome.
and silly. That'd be quite fun.
I personally choose to believe that Sigmar lied about not stealing from Nagash because in the trailer, you can very clearly see Nagash is holding that Stormcast lady's soul, and then Sigmar just yanks her away. Truly, Nagash is right in all he does, and he is perfect, and you should buy OCR Bone Reapers today.
I think that is the entirety
And,
of Sigmar.
With
lore.
that, yeah, that is just about all of this Sigmar lore. He does have at
Nice.
least, like, I believe he has a trilogy of books relating to his rise to power, which I did not repeat word for word because that's a lot of books.
Mhm.
And like I said, like earlier when I'm talking about him uniting the Empire, some of it's somewhat redundant. Like, I could talk about every single tribe he united, but you kind of get the point.
I think he kills
goes
a
around.
Dragon Ogre Shaggoth at one point, supposedly.
I don't think he kills it, but he does. I believe he does fight one. Because if I think I know what you're referencing, I think he might fight the
It's-
father of them.
He has to. I think he does it to unite the tribe that lives where Null is now, because the lady who he eventually has the one night stand with says,
The one maybe kid.
the one maybe his not paying child support thing.
That's the real reason he left.
I think they said that they'll join him if he defeats this beast in the mountains, and he's like, "Yeah, sure, I got Galmaraz." Like, "Oh my god, that's a Shaggoth," and then he's like, "Oh wait, I have Galmaraz." And
Oh wait a
Plot
minute,
Power."
I'm
Colin has
Sigmar.
been
I am the
called
plot.
the number one boner. I appreciate it because of his love for Nagash and Bones.
This is
The
true.
number.
2024 is the year I change allegiances. I'm now Nagash's number one guy.
Number one boner. Wow.
Nagash's top
Pledge
guy.
the bone daddy.
Speaking
Nagash
of number
needs
one,
me to lead the revolution.
speaking of things that give you a boner, hopefully this episode did. And if you made it this far, please do like and subscribe. A big thank you to Colin for giving us the glorious
God.
Sigma. Praise be his
Happy to
name.
help. Remember,
He loves
Victor
you.
Saltzpyre is great.
For real, I love him.
We
And
love.
don't
we
forget-
Love... Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
So, like you said, Hal, don't just like and subscribe for Warhammer lore. Like and subscribe for toilet
Boing
lore
dong.
discussion.
Yeah, toilet law.
And Fortnite
Official-
gameplay.
Bro, we need
First
to have like our
breakfast
breakfast argument as well again.
Oh, yeah.
Breakfast law, toilet
How
law,
to pronounce words properly in English, we go all over the
aluminium.
place.
Thank you. It's
Mm,
official, by the way.
Seti.
They did find that out. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. Again, hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Thank you everyone who gave donations. We really appreciate that. Praise be to Boingob. Again,
Yes.
50% of your income has to go to Boingob.
I thought it was 10.
What do you mean? Oh,
It's
it's
gone up.
inflation. It's inflation's a bit,
It
And someone
goes-
said,
it
"Can you please pet
inflates
that
with
dog?"
our Lord and Savior simultaneously. That's the
Praise
Give
be to
me
our Lord
money.
and Savior. And we'll catch you guys all on the next episode. We will have another tier list. Bit of a
Mhm.
surprise on that one. Can't give anything away because we're going to surprise. Literally, a surprise is a surprise. But
Fortnite weapons.
Ooh.
hope you guys all enjoyed it. And we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
Take care,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Good one.
Love you.
Don't forget to slander, man. 1L.